let's talk about sex, man.
Oh, all right.
How many bodies you got? Now, let me stop. So, like, talk about.
No comment.
So, Jamarcus, what was your first interaction? Whether it's, you want to say, sex, or hearing about sex, learning about sex from your friends in school, porn, whatever it may be. How was your first interaction with sex? Like, what happened to you on the psychological level?
So let me get personal, man. So the first time I had a sexual encounter was like 17, but I didn't literally have sex. It was just playful type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time I had sex was at 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was, grown man status, you know what I'm saying? But as far as, the whole introduction, your father telling you, boom, 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 this is what you do, all of that, it was different actually doing it. Like really doing it, you know what I'm saying? And,
Right, the textbook is different from the actual.
Totally different. Totally different because it's like when you actually do it for the first time, man, especially as a man, you want to make sure that it's done the right way.
Right.
Especially how your father teach you, and sometimes we go with that. Sometimes black men don't even have a father. So imagine the guys that don't have a father that do it but don't have that guidance. You see what I'm saying? So with me having that and listening to my father and him telling me, it was just totally different. Mm-hmm. It was totally different.
Now, what do you feel like the pressures are, AV, of being a teenager in today's culture, with social media, having this expectation that you should be doing something?
I'm gonna tell you, it gotta be rough because it was rough without social media.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
what we have, MySpace?
MySpace and Black Planet.
But we have friends.
No. Worse than social media is the school bus, cousin. Like, you can't get off the school bus. You can get off Twitter. You know what I mean? I gotta go to school. And so, I think the danger in social media is the pressure to make it public. You know what I mean? Like, telling the people I ride to school with might have been sufficient in, I don't know when I was on the school bus, whenever I was on the school bus, but now you gotta do it, you gotta record it, they dropping sex tapes, you got people getting put out of school behind stuff like that, you know what I mean? Because I gotta let everybody I know. Now the whole world is my school bus, you know what I mean? And so I think there's that pressure to get involved before you're ready, and not only are you mismanaging the sex itself or the relationship itself, you're also mismanaging the information. You know what I mean? So I see a lot of damage happening with that.
Why is sex so taboo?
Well, let me piggyback off here. The problem I see with sex, especially in the black community, is we use it as a rite of passage. That's when you become a man in the black community. So even it doesn't really matter what age. I was introduced at sex young age. I'm talking about Playboy. I found my older brother's Playboy magazines, seeing videotapes of porn. Like, I remember going into rooms with my older cousins, and they just got porn on TV. Like it's the news. Yeah, like it's the news. Like they in there chilling. It wasn't. See, so and sex for me wasn't you gotta masturbate or you gotta get the pleasure out of it. It was like, nah, this is what makes you a man. Pussy makes you a man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think as the black community, we use that as a rite of passage, but everybody else has a rite of passage. So you go look at old African cultures, what they'll do, they'll send you out. You might go hunt something, you come back, that makes you a man. It wasn't, you having sex with this person. So I think we misuse sex now because it was, okay, this is what makes me a man. We don't really know the dangers. We don't really know like the power of sex. And I think as you grow older, you're like, all right, let me stop wilding out real quick because this is not what sex is about. Even like you said, you don't have a father who's teaching you about a woman's pleasure.
Exactly. Social media too, bro. I think kids nowadays are desensitized to sex. You know what I'm saying? Because
it's everywhere.
If me and you see this girl's breast for the first time, we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like. But social media, they see all of this stuff. Everything, sex sells, so everybody uses sex, right?
Exactly.
They see it all the time. So for one, it takes away from their first experience because it's not like what they see over there. You get what I'm saying? Two, it's like it just doesn't mean that much to them. There's not meaning to it because it's not held sacred anymore.
Right.
So how is sex viewed differently now that you all are married, right? So it's different. not to like dig deeper into that, but it's more so like you're married now, like as a single man, like sex is viewed differently, right? But now as a married man, it's a whole different like concept.
No, you go. 'Cause I told him, I got it.
To come with what O was saying about like your thought process, even like before social media, I grew up. My brother, literally, I was like in the 4th grade or 3rd grade. He picked me up in a 2-mile radius, took me to like 15 girls' houses. I know what my brother doing, so automatically growing up, I'm thinking that's like the same thing. That's how you. That's supposed to do that, whatever. So being married, you're supposed to be monogamous, and so my mindset is, how do I become a better man? I had to like really dig deep and understand my process with sex and my mental mindset. And so before I did that, I still was like, I had that mindset that I could do whatever I want. Even though I was married, I still had this mindset like I could dance on this girl when I go to homecoming. I could talk to this girl, I could flirt, I could do that. But really I wasn't like, my mental space wasn't there because I grew up in that nature or whatever.
Is being a playboy problematic?
It can be.
So no. I'm gonna lead with a strong yes, and I'm gonna say yes only because of what I think Playboy insinuates. You know what I mean? Like there's a game there that's being played. You know what I mean? And there's no way to play a game with a person without objectifying them. That's impossible. So I'm gonna say yeah. Now I don't think there's anything wrong with dating. I don't think there's anything wrong with even serial dating. I just think that there's a way that you approach that makes it right, and a way that you approach it that makes it wrong. When people know what they're into and what they're dealing with, and they have the option to opt out, I think you're straight. Right. That's the answer to your question. I also wanted to hit on the marriage thing very quickly, because I think, to Will's point, if I had to sum it, I think what becomes important about, or what became important to me about sex and sexual relations and marriage that wasn't a priority for me as a single person is discipline. There's no way to be a monogamous person without discipline and self-control. That's not something that was required of me previous to being married. You know, not really. I mean, I can do what I want. And so if you never practice restraint, then you don't have restraint. And then suddenly, one day you say, I do, and immediately all of this restraint is required. And so, you know, I think because we don't teach that on a day-to-day basis, you set people up to fail. Is why I'll say on camera that most of the people that I know in monogamous relationships are not. You know what I mean? And I think they know that. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, they get theirs, I get mine, we'll meet up at dinner, and we call it, you know what I mean? Call it, it's the Will and Jada. But it's like, you know, I don't know. I ain't gonna do that.
Okay, let's
get a time cap.
That's an hour conversation.
Well. Since it's on the table, since Uber has been thrown, so we all know, like, even as teenagers hearing about Will and Jada's relationship,
Right.
like even though they've actually done a pretty good job keeping it pretty discreet for so long. You know, I mean, we're talking about 20, 25 years of discretion.
Yeah.
You know, some people can't keep nothing discreet for 5 minutes. They get into the car and tell their homeboy, like, bro, this guy. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, like, now that's on the table, right? So where do you see the problem being with the Will and Jada situation? Do you think the gate was open so many times that somebody forgot to put the latch on it that last time, and now you got all these things in your relationship?
I mean, I think the problem is very quickly is that the gate was open in the first place. I mean, if it's an option for you, you shouldn't be married. It's a simple thing. It's simple not to get married. It's really easy.
Now, we discussing open relationships.
But let me play the devil's advocate on that. I think with all this whole relationship goals thing and people dissecting people's marriages, at the end of the day, it comes down to what works for Will and Jada. You know what I mean?
Clearly, it don't work. They on the red table.
They on the red table, but they still together. You know what I mean? But they still together, and they still talking about it.
It's being together evidence that it's working, though. Is what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot of broken people together.
And when you watch that, you can see the hurt in that.
Oh yeah, he was about to cry.
He wasn't being crying. So they put some clears in, nobody.
He said, I'm gonna get you back. Ha ha. That wasn't no joke.
That ain't no joke.
That was not a
But
joke.
it wasn't a joke when she said, you've already done that.
Exactly.
And then guess
Nah,
what?
yeah.
He said, but I'm still gonna get you back.
So that showed
That was for the mother time.
right.
I think a lot of celebrities have open relationships. I think when it gets in the media, you get embarrassed. That's the one part you don't want to get out.
and-
Like, okay, we agreed on
And
it,
that's
but
and that's the part where I say comparison kills. I can't tell you how many people wanted to be Will and Jada. We heard that all the time. Will and Jada,
yeah.
Jay-Z and Beyonce, all these people you look up to, even your friends, man. When you don't know what's going on in somebody's house 24/7, don't ask for that because you might get it.
Now, question: does them being extremely wealthy give them a cushion to their relationship for them to stay together?
No. I think it's more so.
You got a lot more to lose.
I'm saying, yeah.
I think
I'm definitely disagreeing.
I think it's more so the image that they portray. Because I mean, so to piggyback on your question, when we think about as a man, you being a millionaire, would I respect you more than him? And he only has he only makes $50,000 a year, but he may be more richer in the mind than you. But you may have more money just because of just from everything that you might have had. So I think it's more so on the image that they portray.
Before you jump.
Yeah, you
It's
did.
the image thing. That's the problem. Like that's my only problem with Will and Jada and like Jay-Z, Beyonce. It's an image. All these females want to be married because they want to like walk down the aisle and say they did it and whatever. But nobody knows what marriage and like being disciplined and what sex was really meant for. Like at the end of the day, sex is just to reproduce. We just enjoy it. We love the shit. Like, we love it.
We trying to make it recreational.
And the fleshy thing, but the problem with Will and Jada is the image of what they're portraying because it's benefits to being married.
Right.
Even if you're famous or you're not famous, you get benefits. You get tax benefits and there's monetary benefits when you're famous and you're married. You have other options that you have that people that single don't have. You could be like, it's just this is facts. Whatever.
It just leans on the term, not the term, but the slogan: more money, more problems.
Yeah.
Even though they're married, but we all know they're rich. Or more money, more problems. Even when you're married.
But I feel like they shouldn't have had an affair because they're rich.
Is it
Like
an
you
affair
got
if
the
it's a
opportunity.
relationship?
Yeah, because you
I
got the
think it's
opportunity.
unfair.
I think you open a relationship when you don't have opportunities to meet. Like they don't say Will goes on a video shoot. He's going for 3 months. They have opportunity where she can come there for 3 months. You know what I mean? Or she can be there. I think they have the
Their
opportunity.
socioeconomic status
to
allows
close-
them to.
The money allows them to close those gaps of insecurity that a lot of people can't overcome financially.
Maybe.
I mean, to his point, or in that lane of money, I think is different because at a certain level, the population looks at marriage as this is an economic vehicle. For most married people in the world, their lifestyle is predicated on their relationship. It's why, people would be like, my grandma was with my granddaddy until he was 96, and it's because your grandma didn't work.
Yeah,
She can't survive without him.
Right.
And if she could, she would have left him at 27. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the honest to God truth, because he beat her up and did whatever else he did that they didn't tell you about in the family history, whatever.
Couldn't leave.
So I think theirs is different, only that, like, I think I'm more willing to believe in their reconciliation because it's not based on need, right?
Yeah.
So like
For poor people come to the table and we gonna reconcile so we can eat, right? Like we can't break up because I don't want to be homeless.
Right.
Will and Jada,
Like-
even if they break up,
Right.
They good.
they lifestyle.
She can take 175 million. He can take 175 million.
And the fact that you could be good apart and you choose to come
That's a very
together
good point.
is
Very good
reconciliation.
point.
You coming to the table because we got to
Yeah.
isn't reconciliation.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's a
mean?
good point.
That's
what about-
negotiation.
But what about the things that they built that's not monetary?
Like family. He said
Family.
it. He said that was one of the biggest things for him.
His first family is a I'm not gonna call it broken. I don't want to speak on that man. I'm just saying they can have family without.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
I-
like, we talk about sex and stuff, and like you said, biblically, it's only meant to reproduce. But I think now, like, sex is more than that, though. Like, it's an expression of emotion.
No, Solomon was having a good time.
It's
bro.
exercise. Solomon definitely.
Yeah, he
But
was
it's
wild.
exercise, right?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of different things, and I guess for me, as you
Exercise,
age with sex,
exercise.
it's definitely sex. Hey, let's tell them facts, bro. If you have
Burn a lot of
sex more,
calories.
you're healthier. Mentally, physically.
Less stress.
Have a less chance of prostate cancer. And the biggest thing too. So one question I do have to kind of start summing it up is, do you all believe in sex ties and energies?
I do.
You don't believe in soul ties?
Hell no.
I think.
Okay, hold on. AV, why don't you believe?
First of all, because, all right, I don't believe in soul ties. One, because there's no evidence that that's the case. Unless soul tie means that you haven't let this go. So I mean, but if you go into a thing not attached to it, I mean, I'm not. It's silly to think that every person I've ever had sex with is walking around with me right now. I just thought it's not probable. And even if it was, how can you measure that?
Okay.
But
How do you tell one thing from another? You see what I'm saying?
Hold on.
yeah, 'cause I'm,
He kind of messed me up though. I believe in soul ties.
yeah.
Pretty conniving.
He know how to mix it up, right? Yeah.
I love it. Double down though.
Double down on your
I still
statement.
believe in it, but I think it's more of you open yourself up to allow yourself to do that, messes with your mental, and you don't really you're not really thinking, you're just doing. And I think that's where the soul tie kind of comes. And then later you got to deal with the repercussions of that.
Sam?
I believe in soul ties simply because of I'm not gonna forget a person I had sex with.
No?
I don't have any sexual regrets.
Some people I
Like,
can't remember, bro.
I mean, I might not remember, but if we come across you, I'm like, oh damn, we did. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's always gonna be there. So, and Future said, you know, once I hit you, part of my collection. Like, we connected, bro.
Yeah.
We connected forever.
Future's nasty,
Like,
so
yeah, you know, but that line really resonated because I'm like, damn,
Some of y'all
once you do have
Futures
sex
don't
with
do
somebody, you do.
I really think I don't want to belabor the point, but I really think my pushback on this is only comes from the place that if the things that we're talking about create ties, then everything is a soul tie. That's really what I'm getting. And if everything is a soul tie, there is no soul tie. It's not real. Because there's nothing different about. Or matter of fact, I will argue it this way. Sex isn't even the most intimate way to connect with a person. So if that's true, you're telling me that there are other forms of intimacy that don't create these burdens that we carry for the rest of our life, but sex does?
Right.
Honestly though, I really just think that it was contrived by men who want women to be virgins until they get to them, so you can scare them into not having sex. That's what this is really about. So if I can tell you that you're going to carry everybody that you ever had till death, she's going to be a virgin till I get around to her, and I work through the rest of my collection, and we're going to be good.
Good question for you all. I have a good question for you all. How have your sexual experiences differed with women or sexual partners of different ethnicities?
I don't know. I don't do that.
So I got
I'm the majority.
quiet.
I'll speak. So majority of the women I have had sex with are black.
Good.
And I might have had maybe like 2 or 3 occasions of sex with other ethnicities other than black. But to me, pussy's pussy. You know, it's really about the connection. And just to piggyback on the prior question is, you know, I may be connected with this girl just for who she is. You know, she might be everything characteristic-wise, like, bro, I really rock with you,
right.
but your sex is trash. So it's like, so it comes to the soul ties. It's like, are you really soul tied to the sex, or are you soul tied to the person?
Or to the soul.
yeah.
So that's why I feel. That's why I feel like soul ties is real, because I think we as humans, we get confused with sex. We feel like just because we use our hearts connected with this person, we're soul tied. But no, it's really what you are connected with that person.
It's like the energy that you intertwine with that person.
And especially if you're, I'll say this, if you're a godly person, or a person that believes in God, and you go to God and you ask for God, let me please find a woman that represents me. If I look at her, she's a reflection of me. And you get it, right? Everything that you ask for, she shows you. But on that other side, you know, it's not that. So it's like, we kind of get confused.
And Jack telling us to wrap it up, but you know, I do want to. I think that drives us to an important conversation that women love to discuss, is the lack of intimacy.
Right.
Right. How us as men like to introduce sex first before we we actually introduce intimacy, right? Whereas if we understand as men that if the intimacy is there, the sex is there, because like I heard some of you all say like the sex was trash or the sex wasn't good.
Right.
Whereas the sex may not be good if there's some women need intimacy in order for sex to be good.
Right.
Whether that's with your wife or whatever.
Yeah.
You need
Conversation, anything.
you know, some women are sapiosexuals, right? They have to be stimulated mentally in order for their body to then react, right? But we understand that, you know, the true body in the organism that is the brain, right? It's your consciousness that connects with the body. This right here is just a shell. Like what you can't see, your mind, your consciousness, your subconsciousness, the things that you cannot see is what controls the body.
That's what I think of soul time and stuff. Like you said, if you're a godly person, and I know AB said if you can't measure it, if you can't see it, it can't be proven, then how do we call it a soul tie? But how do we call faith faith?
But see, faith is not evidence of a connection.
But how do we call it? So how do we call it manifestation? Because I'm speaking this out loud. We can't measure what I spoke if it really ever happened.
But see, manifestation isn't saying that we're connected by something that don't connect us.
But what I'm saying,
sexually.
well, yeah, what I'm saying is like you said, if sex is a soul tie, then everything can be a soul tie. For me, everything can be a soul tie.
And I'm saying if everything is a soul tie, why are we talking about it? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't. We really shouldn't even be talking about sex. We should be saying.
I feel like it's something to talk about because, like, where there's smoke, there's a fire, right?
And I guess
Sometimes where there's smoke, there's a fire. So the like it's a heavy conversation in the community that sex equals a soul tie.
Yeah.
And so we either here to back that up, or we either here to debunk it.
I'm gonna tell you what I think it actually is, because I think we describe the consequences of dealing with the people that you deal with as a soul tie, which is, you know what I mean? So we saying, oh, because you connected with this person, these things happen in your life, and that's due to the connection. If that's what soul tie is supposed to mean, I think there's a better way of communicating that. It's just saying, I don't know if that's what you're saying.
We're giving sex a handicap.
I'm saying we're calling it something that it's not. I'm saying that I'm tied to you for life because we had sex on some spiritual level, which I think is inaccurate. I think it's more accurate to say that there's nothing that you're ever gonna do that you're not gonna live the consequences for, right? And so if you lay with this person, right, spend time with them, share energy with them, share emotion with them, that you're gonna live through the consequences of that decision. I don't consider that to be some inescapable bond that we have for life because we have sex.
See, I do believe soul ties can be broken. One. And two, I believe that, like you said, you can't just have soul ties without having any type of interaction with somebody, right? But when you get this interaction with somebody, and there's different things that come of it, it's not always negative. That's my thing. I don't think soul tie automatically equates to constant.
Right.
Last question.
I believe it will.
Within 5-second responses, how important is sex in your relationship?
Do it a scale.
Yeah, scale.
On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being very important.
If you ask me, it's gonna be very important. If you ask my wife, it's gonna be in the middle.
Okay. AB?
10.
Very important. Very important.
He said it don't have a number. No.
I can't
Very important.
It's very important. It ain't everything, but it's very important.
Oh.
Do I need to answer that?
Average 10. But 10's point though, for my non-married, I think that's one of the things in terms of the empathy thing. If it wasn't that way before, then you can anticipate it happens after the fact. The way we prioritize these things, that is different, and it's something that has to be managed. Because if you don't manage it, you're not gonna be together.
And what I would say is, getting into a relationship, bro, you have to be very honest with yourself about how your sexual activity was, and when you commit to one person, you cannot put that whole burden on one person. You get what I'm saying? Because you give yourself unrealistic expectations, and even with communication, you can't make her live up to something else that you experienced in your college wild days. You know? Like, she's still one woman. Sometimes she has to recover. Like stuff happens. Like you gotta be, real about your sex and check yourself a lot of times first.
And I'll say this, man. Every man is different, just as every woman is different. And the reason why I say that is, with men, sex is different for each man. You know what I'm saying? We may be going through some shit and like, I'm like, yo, I need to relieve. You know what I'm saying? I need to release. You know what I'm saying? So you got men that have sex with their girlfriends or just whomever just to release whatever is going on in life, or just because they just want to have sex.
But see, I think that's what has gotten us as a community in trouble.
Mhm.
We look at sex as, oh, this is a way to make me feel good about this. I just got in an argument with my girl, so I'm gonna go have sex.
Right.
I'm gonna feel good for 15 minutes, but I still gotta go home
Right.
and figure out this argument. And I think that's the miseducation comes
Exactly.
because it's like
No,
you weren't
that's
properly
true.
educated on, like I said, the power of sex and what sex is used for. But instead, we're using it as, like I said, oh, this makes you a man. Oh, you get mad at somebody. Oh, this is gonna make you feel better. Like you using it as tools versus as a way to like connect, a way to bring a life into the world.
Is sex a tool, or is it something that you just do?
I think sex.
Not personally, but just a question.
I would
No,
answer that.
personally.
I would answer that. I would answer that personally. Personally for me, sex is a tool.
Okay.
Personally for me, and I've used sex as a tool in a bad way.
In the state that you're in right now.
Yeah, in the state I'm
It
in.
changes.
In the state I'm in now, I know how to use sex as a tool to make a baby.
Good.
And
That's the only thing you use it for.
And I no.
Oh.
No. But look.
Same as at the red table.
Yeah, look. But I'm gonna keep it G with you. I'm gonna keep it G with you though. I practice retention. So every time I have sex, I don't ejaculate. Sometimes I take that, I build that energy up and go do it in something, and go put it in something else.
Boy,
And that's a practice in itself. That's a whole nother
That was
episode.
strong.
That's a whole nother
That's
episode.
a strong man.
That boy